A few years ago, I read this book called Peak by Anders Ericsson and Robert Poole. And in this video, I'm going to save you about 8 hours of reading and really summarize the book and what it is I think every trader can learn from it, because I think it's a great book. In Peak, the authors discuss a concept of deliberate practice. And they talk about this whole idea of what differentiates an amateur to a master. What are the differences in terms of the practices, the procedures, the routines, what they do that differentiates someone who stays an amateur and someone who becomes great at what they do. And the answer, or what the authors put forward in the book, is this whole idea of deliberate practice and the importance of having deliberate, intentional practice in your days to progress your skill set to the next level. And a great analogy that I love to use and usually throw in coaching calls is have a look at the people in your life that have been driving the longest. It's usually the older people you know in your life, and you come to realize that sometimes they're not the greatest drivers. And it's a little bit contradictory or babbling or head scratching to think, how can someone who's been driving for so long be so terrible at what they do? And you then have a look at the best supercar drivers out there, and a lot of them haven't been driving as long as your oldest relatives who are still terrible drivers. And I think the underlying principle here stands true. The thing that differentiates someone who becomes an excellent driver is one who is every day focusing on their weaknesses and identifying their weak spots in their game and putting deliberate and intentional practice in place to either fix those particular things they're struggling with or really focus on taking their strengths to the next level. Whereas someone who's been driving for so long, they get stuck in going through the motions and they're not deliberately improving or progressing any part of their game. They're simply going through the motions. So one thing that I think every trader can draw from the book Peak is to identify, and first and foremost before that, to stop going through the motions. Because I know a lot of traders who say they back test for 2-3 hours a day, and I ask them a very simple question: what are you hoping to get out of that back testing? And a lot of them are a little bit baffled and they don't really know what it is they want to get out of the back testing. And it's like going on a journey to find something where you don't even know what you want to find, and you can go searching for so long and never find the thing you wanted to find, and to me it's a little bit of a waste of time. So what I encourage every trader to do is to identify a very specific intent or very specific intention behind their backtesting, and to identify what is the weakness in your trading. What is it, the part of your plan that you specifically would love to refine and take to the next level? Where is it you really struggle when you trade? Is it your entries? Is it the last 30 seconds before you place an entry? Is it the 30 seconds after you place an entry? Is it the management component? Is it trailing to break even? What specifically do you perceive that you need to improve in your trading to go to the next level? And then use that as an intentional focus when you go off back test to go and find the answers to that question. And what you'll do is you'll take your back testing as an example. I'm just using back testing as an example. You take your back testing from something that's unintentional and going through the motions to something that's incredibly deliberate and something that's incredibly intentional. And a couple things happen here. Because there's a reason why behind your actions, you're not going to struggle with motivation, because when the whys are big enough, the hows take care of themselves. You're going to go off and get it done. And two, you're going to prime your brain to find answers to the challenge you're trying to solve. So you're going to be more efficient and effective with your back testing at the end of the day. You're going to get more out of it, and you're going to feel like you're progressing every day. So if you're not having a particular deliberate intent behind the work you do as a trader, I would really stop yourself and get clear on what parts of your trading you perceive you need to improve, and then put a little program together for yourself. I want to focus on this. Great, I'm going to dedicate 30 minutes a day to back testing, intentional back testing to overcome those particular challenges. So that's a little share that I found I think would be useful for every trader out there. Go from going through the motions to becoming deliberate with your practice, and I promise you your results go through the roof.